morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with Mike Lubitz. Happy to be with you here on NoFilter.net. Should begin in song today, should we not, Mike Lubitz? This should be a day of sporting celebration. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I get change for my 100 back. Prices today a little bit exorbitant, but then again, I started going to ball games when a scorecard was 10 cents and a pencil was free. Gave you a little golf pencil there, right? And always the point broke off before you had a chance to even get out of the second inning. It was pretty incredible. But yeah, it should be a day of celebration, should it not? We have four, and I love this situation. And now I guess it's going to occur not only possibly over the next 3 days, but then right again, you come right back with four baggers in terms of daily baseball games as you get to the second round of the playoffs. So the addition of the wild card had created a lot of extra excitement around Major League Baseball. I think it accomplished the purpose that I have been campaigning for forever in all sport, and that is, and you know, hopefully the NBA will continue to find ways to make this happen. Major League Baseball really did it. They added significance to every game of a 162 game regular season.
Yep.
Because you have to fight to the end to try and have the better record, even if you're an established division winner, so that you will avoid that first round of the playoffs, which is no longer a one-game proposition. That was very, very much bordering on trepidation in terms of whether or not the right thing was going to happen there, because anything can happen in one day in baseball. But now 2 out of 3, and yet the team that had the better record ends up or is in the better seeding position, ends up having the home field advantage for all 3 games, potentially. Just how do you feel about that, Louis? I mean, it's odd. I don't know what else you can do. I'm kind of glad because it just continues to add even more significance to what otherwise would be meaningless late season, regular season ball games.
Well, that's the thing is, and we mocked Bob Costas for years ago, hating the Marlins,
Hated him
for being the first wild card team to win a World Series.
I thought he was going to blow his brains out in a booth when he mentioned the wild card.
But
and the free agency and the money the Marlins spent, $50 million on a championship team.
It was a little annoying. I can't lie. Like, there should be differentiation between winning a division and just getting in. Like, the regular season should carry some weight, and it sort of had lost a little bit of its zest. This made the regular season more interesting all the way to the end. Like, I literally went down to the second to last day with the Marlins.
Yeah.
And also winning a division really carries more weight. And I think that's good. Like, yeah, you want upsets, but you also want to be rewarded for playing well in the regular season. And I think this new system does that.
Yeah, and even a game, the last weekend for some teams, there were like 5 positions to be determined in the postseason the last weekend of the regular season, where otherwise that could have been, something that would have been beyond coma-inducing, having to play those games and play out the string. But so I awakened this morning, Libby. I don't know about you. I don't know if you're as big a baseball fan as I am, but, because you grew up Generation X there. And, other games, I mean, you would rather immerse yourself in NBA offseason minutia. And by the way, did you see that? The Portland Trailblazers, as part of the Drew Holiday deal to the Celtics, also acquired the rights to Diana Taurasi as part of that whole business of getting rid of Damian Lillard and sticking it up the ass of Pat Riley in the Miami Heat. So the Joe Cronin guy, no relation, I'm assuming, to Joe Cronin, the former commissioner of the American League, which was centuries ago. Hey, when was Joe the commissioner? A long time ago, people. But, he's trying to justify the fact that, the Heat's offer was garbage. But you would rather immerse yourself totally in off-season NBA minutia. You are like almost a thin version of Brian Windhorst in that regard. Have another cheeseburger, Brian. That's wrong. Fat shaming Brian Windhorst. We like Windhorst. He's all right.
He wears a lot, actually.
Came on our show a couple of times when we were selling his book.
No, we had him on.
This was after, like, we just ripped him to shreds. For did anybody make a better living? I don't know that anybody cashed more off the coat strings of LeBron James than one Brian Windhorst of ESPN.
No way. He wrote books. He became a fixture on ESPN only because of that.
Yeah. Imagine Pedro Gomez, may he rest in peace. Yes. The reporter had to follow Barry Bonds around, a bitter, cynical, person who, was so full of juice, he didn't even know his own level of hatred when it came to the reporting that was taking place. And he's got to go to every ball game there. Even Hank Aaron wouldn't go and acknowledge that Barry Bonds was going to break the record. But we often talk about it. They had that shot of Hank giving the tribute. And then when they pulled back the cameras, there were two guys with ski masks on and machine guns being held to his head. And he said, "I'd like to congratulate the great Barry Bonds on breaking my record. I was really happy he did that." Sure, Hank.
He's so bitter.
just crazy stuff. But anyway, yeah. So you would rather be involved in it, I think, than talking about the Major League Baseball players. But I woke up with a wave of enthusiasm, and I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be a great day in sports. And then I popped on CBS Sportsline, and I'm looking at the headlines, and I was greeted with a sea of negativity, the likes of which I didn't even want to be a sports fan anymore. Started with Seahawks corner latest to rip Daniel Jones. And you're thinking, who isn't ripping Daniel Jones right now?
That's easy. Yeah, that's like.
Did you see the red face of Brian Daboll? He looked like he was, absolutely ensconced, just bitten by any number of, poisonous insects as his face blew up like a basketball. And he went running after Daniel Jones, $160 million so far worth of nothing.
Yep.
They would have been better off literally signing Brian Hoyer in the offseason right now than having Daniel Jones. Now, in Jones' defense, Giants offensive line, the Jets were supposed to have this horrible offensive line. It was suspect whether Rodgers was going to work out because he was going to be in Ben Gazzara mode, running for his life.
Yep.
Giants offensive line wasn't much.
It's not better.
Last night. I mean, hardly reminded you of the Hogs. Where John Riggins, who ran like a 9.4 40, would just find like a gaping hole as if he was going against the Tony Sparano Red Sea defense on virtually every snap, right up the middle. No problem whatsoever. So who isn't ripping this guy? Daboll gets right in his face and starts screaming at him after that pick that he threw. Well, one of two picks, and then he also lost a fumble as he was scrambling around. And that almost was taken back for a score. Eventually did lead to a very short drive for a touchdown, 6-7 yards. And the Seahawks completely decimate the New York Giants last night and make you think, how could you fall so quickly? Now they didn't have Barkley in the game. The Seahawks, I'm not sure what to make of them. Pete Carroll, people think Pete Carroll's just a party guy? Is it time to consider that maybe this guy can coach a little bit?
Well, I mean, for years, people have thought he was a good coach. It just the way the ending of Russell Wilson happened sort of got confusing. They fell off a little bit. They turned to Geno Smith of all people, and that seemed freaking weird. Right now, he's being sort of adjudicated on that because Geno Smith has turned into the guy we thought he was coming out of West Virginia, the guy that we hadn't seen in the league, especially in his Jets days. But Carroll is one of the better coaches. You would presume he's a Hall of Fame caliber coach. He has a Super Bowl, should have two. If his offensive coordinator wasn't a freaking moron.
You thought he should have given the ball to Marshawn Lynch there?
Saying 3 straight plays. It was second down, and you're on the one.
The guy was a battering ram. He looked like Larry Zonka in his prime. And he throws that ball. That was still like an incredible interception, though.
It was a great play, but it should never have happened. He should never have the opportunity to make that.
Anyway, Daboll, literally, if you had waved a raw steak in front of one of Michael Vick's pit bulls, it would not have attacked more vociferously than Daboll did Daniel Jones last night. So do we really need to dump on this guy? I mean, any further? I don't think so. Let's see what happens. They come and face the Dolphins here in Miami next week, and you would have to think laying the 9.5 looks pretty good right now, even if it's a big point spread. Then second headline, ex-NFL player calls Wilson garbage. This is Zach Wilson of the Jets. How much more of a pounding does this kid need to take? Joe Willie even threw the wig off his head and said, you know what, I might have been wrong about this. Now, you were saying and saying earlier this morning, Lubie, that Chris Collinsworth, in his excessive hyperbole, was talking about Zach Wilson having a game like he was a second coming to Joe Montana. And, everybody, it's kind of interesting because this whole business about the back shoulder throw, isn't it usually a bad pass that a guy makes a great catch on?
Usually, yes.
I don't know that it's necessarily, always by design by the quarterback. It's something that like Jimmy Garoppolo gets away with. He gets away with a lot of slop.
Yep.
But these were good throws. They were on target. His guy was able to make the catch. Zach Wilson, I thought, I don't know that he's going to turn out to be the greatest quarterback of all time. I didn't necessarily vote him into the Hall of Fame last night. But even Joe Willie turned back on his comments and said, you know what? I didn't really want to kiss Susie Colbert either. I was just saying she looked good that night. He's even, rescinded his comments and said that, you know what, that was a good game. But nonetheless, Rodney Harrison of NBC, well, I don't know. I mean, is he always this negative? He's got Jones on the postgame show.
Yeah.
And, he's pressing him about how horrible Zach Wilson is. And the guy doesn't want to say anything. I mean, it's a player talking about another player. He doesn't feel like saying the guy was garbage, and he wasn't in this ball game.
No, he played. That's the funny thing is, it was finally a game where we played okay. Even I let off of him. Like he played better, like he did.
Chris Jones is, trying to shrug this off, almost like, the second and third time that they asked Donald Trump, "Hey, Donnie, did you do any of this stuff?" He's like, "Well, it's a witch hunt." So he's trying to dodge this question, and then Harrison says, "What you had to conclude that this dude is garbage from watching him on film before the game." How much more? I mean, why don't we just take the guy out and they shoot him?
Yeah, exactly.
At this stage, they shoot horses, don't they? So that's number two. That's the number two headline on a day where you should be hanging bunting outside your house right now and getting ready for that first pitch. Sitting down there with a cold one and, a scorecard and getting ready to keep score at home, which how many people really do that, Lubie? All right, then they go into how Xander Schauffele was pissed off that the PGA was going to make them allow Netflix into the PGA American Team's Ryder Cup locker room.
Okay.
What goes on in there, man? Were they going to see like Ricky Fowler jerking off to a picture of a nude girl? I mean, what were they going to see? That golfers, they don't do anything. They don't have personalities, nothing. It's a pleasure to see some of the new breed out there that would actually like laughing and high-fiving once in a while. Brooks Koepka looks like he hates life, doesn't he, when he's walking around the course?
100%. You would think if there's any place where we need to see the curtain peeled back to know that there actually is life, is a freaking PGA locker room. Like, what
goes on in there? I mean, the Schauffele, to turn to Patrick Cantlay and say, what do you think about these Sanibel slacks?
Exactly.
There's nothing happening. It's a golf locker room. There's no yelling. There's no screaming. There might be some finger pointing. That's possible. But, if they peel back the curtain on that, they did that in the series Breakpoint, Netflix. It was excellent. Gave you a nice behind-the-scenes look. And you would have to think it was carefully edited. I mean, a lot like Hard Knocks is, where there were certain things that they were not going to show. I mean, but they practically had, like, Taylor Fritz and Morgan Riddle having sex together. It was great.
There you go.
What could you possibly unveil in a golf locker room that, and it's not even a locker room. It's a clubhouse, for God's sake. We're at the clubhouse here.
Exactly.
They're making mint juleps. Eating the pimento and cheese sandwich there or whatever after playing in the Masters. I don't know how upset you could be about that. 76ers expect Harden to make situation painful. There's news.
Thank you.
He hates everybody. James
Hasn't
Harden.
already done that. What headlines are these?
Managers firing, and sad to report that we also had Russ Francis pass away in a plane crash. Russ Francis, great tight end for the Patriots and also the 49ers. And what was with some guy that was like an aviator. It wasn't like he was flying with Howard Hughes in some experimental plane. I mean, and they had mechanical problems. So, that was an unfortunate story. But all negative, Lubie. What do you think? Is that the state of sports talk today? That if you're not negative, it isn't going to fly?
But on a website, there's like so much going on right now. Like the NFL, college football, the Major League Baseball playoffs, basketball, hockey are almost here. Like, I don't like all those headlines were weird.
Those are your headlines for today. All right, here's a proposition. We've been following the Marlins all year long because we were based out of South Florida here. We've been Marlin fans for 30 years now. It's been 30 years that you would have to say I don't even know if suspect is a strong enough word. I mean, this is only their fourth time in the playoffs. They made it the COVID year of the 60-game season, and that was considered to be somewhat of a fluke. You only had to win like 30 ball games to get in there, and they did. I think they might have been 32 and 28, something along those lines. The two times that they made it previously, 97 and 2003, they won the World Series. And so everybody's thinking, can that happen again? And they are 50-1, along with the Arizona Diamondbacks, to win the World Series. You would have to think that they're in, I mean, beyond a prohibitive position. Obviously, they barely qualified, number one, while the Braves were dancing in the streets there since July. They don't have the kind of illustrious players that you have on some of the other rosters, including the Philadelphia Phillies, who feature last year's MVP Bryce Harper. We've often asked the question, and this is a delicacy here in South Florida, that people, I think, are overpaying badly for. Ron, what do you think? The stone crab, which is a unique delicacy in South Florida here. You have Joe's Stone Crabs, one of the most fabled restaurants. They now have one in Las Vegas. I don't know about shipping this stuff, but if you get them fresh, they're very good.
Yes.
But I think highly overrated. I would rather have like a Maine lobster tail any day than a bunch of stone crabs. You end up with shells in your teeth there. You got to go to the dentist here. There is no amount of flossing that can take a stone crab shell out of, that little space there between your teeth that you should have had taken care of years ago when you had dental insurance at work. Or Bryce Harper, who got like $300 zillion at a time when that was a lot of money in Major League Baseball to, essentially hit like 259 that first year, I think.
Yep.
But we've come to the conclusion that it is the stone crab that is more overrated after Harper's produced some solid numbers and powered the Phillies into the World Series last year. Yep. Comes back from Tommy John surgery. He's not throwing the splitter anymore, but can still hit. And prohibitive favorites over the Miami Marlins. What's it going to take for the Marlins to get inspired enough to win this series? What do you think? I mean, they've really been decimated. The pitching staff is in total disarray. They don't even have three bona fide starters to go right now. The bullpen has been overworked all season long, been doing a great job. Schumacher, the manager, and Kim Ng should be candidates and maybe even winners of manager and executive of the year. Kim Ng, the general manager there, only female in that capacity in Major League Baseball or any sport for that matter, right?
American sports, yeah.
Brilliant job this year after what we thought, maybe they ought to question whether they made the right decision there. I'm thinking they bring in Panama Lewis. What do you think? To the clubhouse today, the former boxing trainer. And he just gives every one of them a little bit out of that, something to drink. Drink it, I said, out of the bottle that he mixed in the corner there for Aaron Pryor in that great fight against Alexis Arguello many, many years ago when it didn't even come under suspicion at the time. Perhaps, I mean, all of a sudden, Aaron Pryor's got the biggest hard on you've ever seen as he goes out to fight round 13. I mean, even Arguello with the jab, he couldn't get around that thing. And whatever was in that bottle had to be sensational. So do you think 50-1 is worth a shot? Would you take a swing at that, Mike Lubie Lubitz?
To win it all, no. I can see them, I guess, getting past the Phillies. When you look at their lineup and the rotation, it just, like in 2003 to 1997, they actually had studs. They just took them some time to get together. This team is not that. They literally limped into the playoffs. 50-1, it's not the worst. Like, it's long enough odds where it would make sense to take a flyer. But yeah, I just don't see them getting all the way to a World Series alone and winning it.
Oh, this is beyond Man of La Mancha. There's no shot. They come into this postseason looking worse than Chuck Wepner did when he came out for the 15th round against Ali in that classic Rocky-inspiring fight in Cleveland, Ohio. I can't see them winning at all. It's and the odds makers apparently. I don't know that that's tempting enough. You would have to get like 1,000,000-1, would you not, to go ahead and bet the Marlins to win it all? 100. So mark this down. We're here October 3rd. At the time we're doing this performance, it's 10:02 on the East Coast.
Yes.
As the Marlins go on and win the championship,
we both were wrong.
We'll come on sometime in late November and say, I told you so. NoFilter.net. I told you so. All right, Louie, that's it for today. Negative headlines all over. Enjoy the day of baseball. It's going to be a lot of fun. I always love this. I mean, if you're a couch potato, this is the day to go ahead and just put butter and sour cream all over yourself and have a day of celebration instead of diving into and indulging in all this negativity. By the way, what did you think, real quickly, Jimmy Butler's new look? There was a guy with a magnet that almost destroyed Heat Media Days. He came out there with like all kinds of face piercings. It was as wild as seeing Mike Tyson when he first had the face tattoo, and you thought, wow, how drunk were you, Mike? Who was going to say that to Tyson, though? Nobody at the time. How drunk were you, Mike?
No one.
Maybe Jim Gray. And then we finally would have seen the action that we had been looking for years, where Tyson just throws a right hook, and that's it. Jim Gray goes off into that sportscasting booth in the sky and says, hey, did you ever bet on baseball, Pete? Did you ever bet on baseball? All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Next edition of the Morning Briefing. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Enjoy the baseball games, and we'll see you next time on the next edition of the Morning Briefing.